All right, well, what is up, everybody? Keith Jameson, Go Back Gator Guy 231 across the DFS industry, and it is Friday, which means we are here to preview the EPL Saturday slate, 4-game slate, and also because it's Friday, you know, you're going to get the tour of Tampa in the car. So first off, thank you everybody for watching. Quick reminder to like, subscribe, comment. The channel is almost to 3,000 subscribers. I thank all of you for that. But if you have been watching these videos for a while, haven't pressed the subscribe button, please do that now. It really does help. So typically on these previews, we talk about players and we talk about set piece roles, floors, all these things, and we're going to build up a floor, and other people can chase down goals and we'll get there by our floors. This isn't going to be that slate. We've got Liverpool at home, close to a -500 favorite against Palace. Just a reminder, last year Liverpool beat Palace 8-0 at Palace. So, and I don't think this Palace team is that much better. And then we have Manchester City hosting Southampton as actually even a bigger favorite at close to -650. So realistically, this isn't going to be a player slate in the way of, like, I'm not going out of my way to fit James Ward-Prowse, who, like, I almost always want to play because he's playing Manchester City as close to a +1,000 underdog. Like, it makes no sense to go for somebody like him. And what we really have to do is find the goals, find the upside, find the assists. Like, I don't think just playing corner kick takers on this type of slate is going to get you anywhere. The other two games on the slate is Arsenal going to Burnley. Arsenal is a slight fave, +100. But it's only 2.25 total. I should have mentioned Liverpool and City, those are over 3. And with them being such big favorites, you're talking about like team totals in the 2.5 range. And finally, you have Norwich hosting Watford. This is going to be a game that I think in a lot of ways could look back, and if either of these two teams avoid relegation and win this game, they're going to look back at this being one of the games that kept them up. But Norwich is a slight home favorite, another 2.25 total. So let's just get to the City and Liverpool conversation, because that is truly what's going to decide the slate. So let's start with City, since they are the biggest favorite. I should also mention Liverpool and City both just played on Wednesday in the Champions League, so there's going to be big rotation. Like, we're in fixture congestion. Klopp already rotated a decent amount. So did Pep to an extent, but like, I say to an extent with Pep because City is just such a deep squad that, he rotates and still has guys that would be starting for any team in the world, not named Manchester City. So let's start there. Kevin De Bruyne is one of the most expensive players on the slate. I think he's likely due a rest after playing midweek, and that being his first return back. But more troubling with Kevin De Bruyne is that Jack Grealish and Riyad Mahrez took the corners over him. And if he's not going to have corners, now he still showed a great floor versus Red Bull Leipzig. I think he got 13 without a goal or an assist, but it's a little bit scary without any corner kicks because you're relying on full open play value. So I think if we didn't get any crazy low rotation, I'd much prefer Jack Grealish at almost 2,000 cheaper, considering he's going to have corner kicks, considering he plays the more advanced roles. And much like Kevin De Bruyne, has a floor outside of the corners, and if we're going to get the corners on top of it, I think it makes some more sense. But what is going to be really important in City is just watching the lineup. So I think we'll see Gabriel Jesus come in and play that right wing position over Mahrez. I think that Raheem Sterling is probably due a start, maybe at left wing or at striker. And then it'll be interesting to see who else is up there. Bernardo Silva is a guy that I'm really interested in the mid 6,000s. Now, Bernardo Silva, if you go into the FSI chat, is always a topic of tilt and conversation because he so often does nothing. But we saw versus Leicester, he showed up with 8 crosses from that midfield 3 position and just got a lot of freedom to move in and out. And I think if we saw that type of play again, something we've been really, really interested in, get us access to a City piece, and I don't want to say attacker, but a City creative piece for fairly cheap. Also could take some corners. From a tactics standpoint, I think it's important to note that Southampton in the past versus City just will throw so many guys behind the ball. Like, we could be talking 8-9 people behind the ball. and trying to pinch City to the wide areas, Pep much prefers to obviously play through movement, try to hit the end lines, and then cut it back. Like that's like the Pep pattern of movement that he'd love to see. But Southampton wants to eliminate that and cause City to cross the ball. So a guy like Silva, a guy like Grealish, Kevin De Bruyne, João Cancelo, all these wide guys all could have fairly good crossing floors. And because they're such a huge favorite and such a big total, you realistically get goal upside from your wide guys, but also get that assist and shots assisted upside that you need as well to do well. So realistically, almost any City player is in play. I'm still going to favor wide over central. Like if Raheem Sterling lined up in the center, he's 7,600. I think he's okay. But like Ferran Torres smack dab in the middle, I'm going to lean like a Jesus or a Grealish or a De Bruyne, or if it's Mahrez in, all those people that are out wide. Ilkay Gundogan, I don't think, if you see enough people in that threaten his sets, I don't really know if he's a play. But if he has a good line to sets, like you don't see Grealish and you don't see KDB, then Ilkay Gundogan should have at least a set share, so it would be fine as well. I think that covers City well. I guess look for their center backs. If you see one of them come in, that's less than like 33 or 3,400, I think that makes sense. You get a good passing floor and clean sheet upside with him. Nobody on Southampton that we want to target. Going to Liverpool, the other big favorite. Sadio Mane was rested midweek, which I think means that Klopp may try to do a rest for Salah on Saturday, which could be really interesting because at that point, with Origi out getting injured in the midweek game, you could see like a guy like Oxlade-Chamberlain, who's sub 4,000, or Minamino, I don't remember where his price is at, but starting out wide, which would be a really good value with Liverpool being such a huge favorite. I specifically like Oxlade-Chamberlain, whether he's out wide or plays in the midfield three. He is pretty active, really needs to show out to get back in the team and to get more time. There's a spot somewhat available now with the Harvey Elliott injury, so I'd love to see Oxlade-Chamberlain really try to seize the opportunity, and it's a good time with the price. I think Sadio Mane is a great play at the left wing. Was really tough, like had a really tough game versus Leeds, but was very active, had some chances to pass up shots for probably, I can think of one specifically where he decided to shoot and both Jota and Salah were wide open that would have just been tap-ins, and Mane seemed to kind of be pressing to get his goal. Without Salah, so much more of the gravity of the field shifts to Mane's side. So I think Mane and Jota I really like as Liverpool attackers. Jota sticks out because he's priced so much less, but Mane, we know for years, has had that floor. Trent Alexander-Arnold should be the chalk of the slate if starting at 9,000. Now, if he's not in, you can see like Nico Williams or James Milner start and potentially have some set share too. So watch that, but I really like Liverpool fullbacks. We saw Liverpool get back to like the DFS basics that we love of just tons of crosses and the game pressing versus Milan midweek. So whether it's Robertson or Tsimikas on the left, TAA or James Milner or Nico Williams on the right, I very likely am going to have two Liverpool fullbacks in a cash/optimal sense. I think Liverpool here has a really good shot to score multiple goals. So, being price sensitive, but then also focusing on those fullbacks, I think makes a ton of sense. So before I go to the other games, I guess the point I want to get across with this is, I don't think, we're going to get to Arsenal here in a minute, Nicolas Pepe being, a prototypical cash player. I just don't see how it would make sense on this slate. Let's say that Nicolas Pepe, and I'm kind of jumping ahead here, but let's just call him a 10 to 11 DK floor, which I think is very fair, and even maybe a little aggressive because, we could see him lose sets, right? You could see a Saka or an Odegaard all of a sudden take, and they didn't last week, but that doesn't mean they can't in the future. But let's just say that we give it to him, and let's compare him to like a Diogo Jota or even like Raheem Sterling, and those both are cheaper than Pepe on the slate. So we give Pepe a 10-point floor and a 2.25 total game, so we don't have a ton of upside. We're not really expecting a goal or an assist. Versus Jota or Sterling, which I think from a floor perspective, you're probably in the 5 to 8 range on them, so a little less, but much more expected chances for a goal or an assist. So I think you have to give up those couple of floor points and shoot for the upside in this type of slate based on the odds. Like, you're talking 5 to 6 times the favorites on Liverpool and City versus Arsenal. So getting to Arsenal, I really don't see, outside of GPP, going here at all. Arsenal struggled this entire season. They struggled versus Norwich in a much-fun game at home. Pepe was great. But, again, do you want to forfeit a City or Liverpool piece to lock in, let's say, 10 points for Pepe? Which, again, I'm struggling to say that that's necessarily even a lock. So that's kind of my Arsenal thought. I think Nick Pope, 4,000 for Burnley, will be super, super popular. I think the Burnley players are like really good GPP pivots if you want to go low owned. Like a Chris Wood or an Ashley Barnes or like a Gio Rodriguez if they start up top. I think it's really interesting. But I think Nick Pope, most owned goalkeeper, especially at home at Turf Moor versus struggling Arsenal. I think in cash you can see a lot of people go to that. Finally, for Norwich and Watford, I think these are just plug-in pieces. This is maybe where you go for value. Norwich sets are kind of all over the place. We've seen Gilmore take. We've seen Milot Rashica take, and then I'm blanking on the new guy's name, the left winger from last week. I'll put it in comments. I can't think of it offhand. But their sets are all over the place. If we get like a Billy Gilmore start, he's in that low 3,000 range. I think it makes a ton of sense. I'm going to be prioritizing if we get a cheap City or Liverpool piece over them. Again, I just want to get exposure to those games. The more exposure you get to games that are going to have more goals, the more we raise our ceiling of our lineups. But yeah, nobody sticks out. Watford, Ismail Assar, a lovely player, but he's much like Pepe. Are you going to give up a Liverpool or City piece to get him? I just don't think that that's optimal. All right, that's probably about where I sit on the slate. It's only 4 games. I think lineups are going to be more important than anything, so make sure that you're checking once lineups come out. You're scrolling through the values too, because if you do get like an Oxlade-Chamberlain, a Minamino, I can't think of anybody on City that's like super cheap that stick out, but crazier things have happened, especially when you have teams. You have 3 games in a 7 to 8 day span, especially this early on in the season. Managers are going to shake things up, so stay on top of it. Prioritize your Liverpool and City pieces. Fill in from there. I think you'll do well. Thanks once again for watching. This is Keith Jameson, aka Gator Guy 231. See ya.